The Joe Rogan Experience.
My friend Cam Haynes went to an Apache reservation in Arizona, I believe, last year, and he said that there's actually a cave that they wind up putting bars on to keep people from stealing the artifacts. But there's arrows in there and human remains, and they've left them in there. I mean, just something like that is unbelievably fascinating that this exists, and it just exists on this reservation, just sitting there, and that most people are not even aware of. This is like an unbelievably sacred part of history that's right there.
Right. And those places are constantly being looted. There was a time in American history, 50s, 60s, 70s, where you could get these beautiful cross-country maps, right? And many of those maps would have places where there were Indian artifacts and places that you could go and look
for stuff
and get stuff. So a lot of things like that have been published throughout time, and so folks that are interested in doing that and make their living doing that, they rely on those old documents and stories of where things are, and are still looting and selling those items today.
I think we in the West have this idea that if something is historic, we should be able to look at it. That we should be able to go to a place, the Smithsonian or the this or the that, and go see it.
Mm-hmm.
I think what you're saying is we have to kind of relook at that, and that it's not ours to look at, and that this is a part of the tribes and a part of your culture.
Mm-hmm.
And this is not something you could just gawk at. I never even thought about looking at bones, that looking at bones would be disrespectful until I thought about, like, Amy Winehouse's head sitting there at a museum, and then I'm like, yeah, that'd be kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
It requires a shift in perspective.
Right. And I think that's all tribal nations are asking people to do, is to think differently about these issues and recreate a new and more appropriate myth about our collective history, and let us decide for ourselves what we want to share and what we don't want to share. And I think what you'll find is that Indian nations have shared a lot. So this work on Native American Graves Protection and Repatriation Act, where those museums thought they were going to lose all their collections and their shelves would be cleaned out and no exhibits anymore, what they found instead was that they actually figured out what the hell they've been holding on to this whole time, because now they're actually talking to the people who have experience, expertise, and cultural knowledge about these items that are in their collections. So all of a sudden, information that they never had before. And so the relationships that have been built between museums and those institutions and tribal nations has built something completely different than nobody had contemplated before, just from talking to Native people and understanding what those things are and where they come from and what should be shared and what shouldn't be. There's still a lot of museums holding out, though, and usually those are the big, well-funded institutions.
And what's their argument?
They don't have an argument. What's interesting is I wrote somewhere once that we're just waiting for a lot of old white people to die. I mean, that's really the case. That there is just this old perspective, this old philosophy, this hoarding philosophy, not wanting to give things back.
Is there also, in their defense, could it be that they're really concerned that stuff would be lost? And that it is important historical.
Right. And so the mission of many museums is to educate the public. And there's this kind of arrogant, what I would consider an arrogant way of thinking about the world, like everyone should have access to knowledge, and tribes don't necessarily feel that same way. So there is that kind of that philosophy. And so those institutions will often use the law to work against the repatriation situation and delay, mostly delay. Most tribes don't want to fight against institutions like that because, for one thing, they don't have the capacity to fight that because there are so many things on their table already. And another reason, to bring that kind of discord around these sacred items or around ancestral remains is difficult. So you don't want to bring, bad energy around something that you need to care for and respect and put back in the ground. So, there's a lot of reasons why these bigger institutions are getting away with not following the law. Mm. And they take advantage of it. And so that's why my organization is important, because we try to help bridge that.